Hello, and welcome to our panel discussion on emotional intelligence within the classroom. Do stay tuned. Let's begin by meeting our panelists. We have Miss Darcy George, Miss Queenie Adams, Miss Tiffany King, and Miss Crystal Johnson. To help a child get into the state where they're ready to learn, a teacher has to realize that the emotional reality in the classroom matters, and the teacher is a mentor. The teacher is in the key position to help children get for themselves the critical abilities of emotional intelligence. Daniel Goleman, 2000. Myself and colleagues agree with this statement and will be further diving into this topic as our discussion progresses. Upon reading this statement initially, the quote that came to mind is from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Intelligence plus character, that is the true goal of education. How often do we seek to teach children without any regard for what may be their emotional state? As teachers and future teachers, do we even understand emotional intelligence for ourselves? Do we practice empathy when interacting with students or colleagues, or do we rule with an iron fist? And do we see the classroom as a place where notes and concepts are to be memorized and regurgitated? Or is it a place where concepts are to be truly grasped and can be applied to real life situations? Now, many may ask, what exactly is emotional intelligence? In an article published by helpguide.org named Improving Emotional Intelligence, it is described as the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in a positive way to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with each other, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. Recently, we have seen a rise of violence within the local secondary schools here in Guyana, which makes me wonder if we place more emphasis on developing emotional intelligence in the classroom, would the rates of violence and chaos be reduced? With that being said, I do not disregard the integral role parents and guardians must play in ensuring their children know how to properly process things emotionally. But I would like to discuss what our part as future educators should entail.
Thank you for that contribution, Ms. Johnson. According to Dr. Martin Luther King, his word ring true indeed. I must say, these are important questions to ask, and we must consider how to implement strategies here in Guyana to teach children how to be emotionally intelligent members of society for their own good and for their communities. I suggest we focus on the important factor such as the development of empathy. I would also like to start by sharing a quote, and I quote, "Empathy is about finding echoes of another person in yourself." End of quote. These are words of Muslim Hamid. Teaching empathy, social awareness, and self-awareness all have a powerful impact on children's developmental. It can aid in self-awareness. This is the ability to understand one's feelings and emotions. Self-regulations, the ability to manage one's behaviors and actions. Motivation, inspiring one to meet certain goals. Social skill, how to appropriately interact with society and understand key social cues. Teaches how to react to constructive critics, not taking advice other than praise in a negative manner. Positive intelligence, meaning how the efficient is the mind working on one's best interests, which can also help defeat self-sabotage. As I just stated, there are numerous benefits in helping children to develop and constantly improve their emotional intelligence. Life is full of high and lows, but it is the ability to deal with these periods of challenges, failure, and triumph in a way that doesn't overwhelm us, as well as our ability to treat others with respect, which defines our shapes our human experiences. Civilization can all Civilization can only be considered civilized if we care about one another and seek to help each other through hardships and act with integrity and kindness.
Now, the points you expanded on, Ms. Johnson and Ms. Adams, are extremely relevant and an important part of the education system and are carefully considered when interacting with students. I would like to add that we must acknowledge that teachers are also human beings and may have instances of emotional weaknesses and feel frustrated with the weight and responsibilities of being an educator. But we must also keep in mind that as a facilitator of the classroom, it is vital to hold ourselves to a high standard and seek help and support when needed to ensure we provide a safe space for our learners. I also seek to add to this discussion the following points. Now, emotional development is influenced by our different cultural expectations at each development stage. It has been found that there are four different levels of emotional intelligence. The first level being perceiving emotions. This is the first step with looking at becoming aware of and understanding emotions correctly. This would mean understanding both verbal and nonverbal signs. Number two, reasoning with emotions. The next step is being able to use your cognitive mind to promote thinking as we pay attention and react to things. Persons respond emotionally to things that grasp their interest. Third, understanding emotions. When it comes to emotions, there can be multiple meanings depending on the person. To understand, the observer must interpret the causes and what they could mean. Now, fourth, last but not least, is managing emotions. The ability to manage emotions and control our reaction and respond to various situations is a huge part of emotional intelligence and development. This point is related to self regulation that you would have spoken about earlier, Miss Adams.
Thank you for that, colleagues. I do believe we have a firm understanding on the importance of emotional intelligence and how it impacts development. I would like to add that it isn't enough to just speak on these issues, but we must have strategies in place to implement them. Modeling empathy to students and treating them with kindness and consideration does not mean letting them have their way, and not ensuring there is discipline and order within the classroom, but instead means that we allow room for understanding. The following are suggested. Encouraging students to give back. I believe there should be more emphasis placed on volunteering and helping one's community, because interaction will help students to put the empathy. Here we are trying to teach them about the practice. I also believe in teaching about delayed gratification. We live in a world where everything must be immediate and instant. Social media is causing many children to have an even shorter attention span. Students must learn that learning and exploring knowledge may take time and that they shouldn't give up just because they don't see results right away. Patience is a virtue, and they should be taught to persevere and thrive, not just to do the bare minimum to survive school. I am saying that they must be taught resilience and have exposure to frustrating and challenging scenarios, for it is only then that they will have their critical thinking skills sharpened. At the end of the day, we are preparing them for the outside world, and we should feel confident that we help them in some way, not just academically.
Thank you very much, ladies. That brings us to the end of our panel discussion. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to everyone's opinions and contributions. Thank you very much, audience, for listening as well. Enjoy the rest of your day.